story and please share this with my students.
Thank you.
Shahed Kamal, please welcome.
Thank you so much.
And I have your slides uploaded here.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
We need this for recording, Shah.
Yeah, that's okay. Otherwise, yeah. I know I live a lot on recorded lectures as well, so I appreciate you people showing up on an early morning. It's pretty good. All right, guys, my name is Shahed. I am very excited to be here and share some stories of what I've been up to for the last few years. So I'm going to keep it simple and quick and share 3 stories so that just in case you're really, really bored or yawning, you know how close I am to finishing up. So the first story is the bug, how I got bitten by the bug. So my parents are from a country called Bangladesh. Just like any talk, I have to start from where I started. My dad grew up in a house of 18 siblings, very abject poverty, and then he migrated to another place called Dubai, where I was born and brought up. So being a kid from brown parents, you know, I was always good at studies, obsessed with things like normal kids, cartoons, and all that kind of stuff. Never thought of business, never thought about anything entrepreneurial, till in 2012, my brother took me to a founder talk at a startup event, and that changed my life. Now, that was an interesting time in my life because I was in year 11, year 12, and I was struggling what to do with life, wasn't sure what I should do, listen to my parents and become a doctor like every second brown kid is, or should I, you know, discover and find my purpose and passion and that kind of thing. So I go to this talk, and these 2 guys, one's, I think he was in his late 30s, the other one was like late 20s. One was an investment banker, started like from Wharton, an Ivy League university, did his MBA. The other guy was like a pharmacist, had lots of experience. And both of them quit their jobs to start a social sports company. So what they were doing was taking excess inventory from schools. So after 5, if you think about it, schools, they get shut. There's the sport equipment and the courts and stuff. And they would organize sport games for corporate busy people. And they were making millions. They were such a profitable company. And that just hit me. It blew my mind. Being 17, I was looking at them, and I was like, that's dumb. I could do that. Like, I could go talk to my school and organize that. And they were talking about how they were so scrappy, and they started a Facebook group, and that's where they got all their teams together. And listening to that story, I was like, you know what, I could do that. I could earn millions. Like, what am I doing with my life? Why should I go to uni and do all that kind of stuff and figure out life? So it's not that simple. I couldn't quit uni, couldn't do things, but I went through that. But then I started on this mission that how can I get into this journey and how can I learn about it? And that was the bug. And the immediate effect of the bug is, during meals, like I remember there was a TV show called How I Met Your Mother, and like Russell Peters was very popular, if anyone knows those references. And that's what I used to watch in my spare time. And I swapped all those with watching founder stories. And then I started learning about like how, you know, Google was the 7th search engine and how they got started and got like a check from Sun Microsystem, or how Vinod Khosla started, or how Flickr came from a guy called Stuart Butterfield when he started a game company which didn't work, or how Mark Zuckerberg's 8th project was Facebook and how that worked on and the intricacies to it, how a company called Friendster, way before Facebook, started by someone, got you know, $500,000 in funding, but couldn't beat Facebook because of these other technological issues they have, and how MySpace came in, and how these different products came in. And that was like my Hollywood. So how, you know, people have actors and, you know, Oscars and that kind of stuff. So I've never met these people, but I've read so much about them, and that's what I did in my spare time, like read about this guy called Alexis Ohanian, who started this company called Reddit, and what they did. I've never even been to US, but I know so many of them, their names, and I stalked the crap out of them, and like I just knew those stories. And every story I read about how people went on to start companies, it just amazed me as much on how scrappy it was. It wasn't that, you know, you can't go and be like, oh, I've got an MBA, I started Facebook, use my product. It does not work like that. It's what they say, like the market decides what works. So like whatever you build, you put out there, and if it's valuable enough, anyone's going to use. So that's where I started, and I was like, great, I'm going to start a product, I'm going to make $1 million, life's going to be awesome. Obviously doesn't happen like that. So had lots of failures on the way. So I started my first company on that situation as well. I wanted to looking at more universities. I learned WordPress, and I built this web crawler which pulled up information from different university websites and put it in a table. And the idea was like, oh, anyone clicks, I charge universities, which is a pretty neat product. I learned, got a lot of help from people, built that, and then started doing sales. Went to Melbourne Uni, went to a few universities, and being a 17-year-old, they're like, yeah, that's awesome, that's great. But then when I followed up with my third and fourth email, I'm like, oh, no, like, are you guys going to pay me? Like, how's this going to work? No one responded. And being an impatient kid, I was like, oh, this is so annoying. Like, it's so slow. They're not paying those $1 million that I dreamt about, all those dreams I had of being on the cover of newspapers and making a lot of money. What's happening? So it didn't work out like that. So I was like, okay, what can I do differently? So there's this word called pivot, right? If a lot of you've heard, how do you change things? How do I push this quicker? Then I pivoted that business to making a booking platform for short courses. So I started going and talking to coffee schools and these dance classes and that kind of stuff. Like, how do I make this work? I was really impatient. Like, I wanted this to work right away. And then I did manage to get like one coffee school in Collins Street, and I was like, I'll put your information in. Every time someone clicks, you give them a commission. It was just a very different business that I went on to, and before I realized my customer base was like pregnant women looking for yoga classes, really something that I didn't understand. By the time I realized like this is not working, it was 3 years, I wasted so much money, time and resources, and nothing was happening. And that taught me a lot of stuff, as cliches, failure quotes are, that you have to fail and learn lessons, but it sucks. I really struggled giving introductions because I still go to these startup things and they're like, oh, do you do anything? And I was like, oh man, I've been doing these things for the last 2-3 years, nothing worked, and I actually don't have a story to share. But I kept working at different things, and then it was 2014, I was at Melbourne Uni, I was doing a bachelor's in biomed and computing, and I went to an internship at a medical software company, and all through hustle and grind. And even that internship, the way I got it was, they had these applications open, and I sent like a video saying, oh, there's this other company which does very similar things to what you guys do. I know a lot about this space. They're like, yeah, sure, come work for us. And I worked in Sydney for a month, and they sent me to Bali, which is one of the best times in my life. Worked there, and I had an idea there, which was basically when I was working in these software companies, there was a lot of productivity software. So if anyone has worked in software, there's these products called Trello and Basecamp and project management software, and they're really sexy. Like, you have these dashboard at the end of the week. You look at it, it makes you feel so good. Like, yes, I've ticked all these boxes and I've got these analytics. And when I had to come back to university after that internship, and I was like, it'd be cool to build something like that for the university. And that was my mission. So starting 2014, that's what I went on to a journey to do that. And it was super, super hard. And that's when I started realizing, oh, this is so much work than just building something, selling it to people, and getting money. And that's when my hustle and grind started. Someone asked me the other day, what's a good definition of hustle? And I was trying to think about it. And the one thing that came to my mind is, it's like you're a tiny person and there's a massive bookshelf and you're trying to push it. And you're pushing all your energy to push that bookshelf. It's not moving a tiny bit. And like any normal person, you would give up. You'd be like, I'm too small, it's not going to move, everything's against me. If this falls, it's going to come on me, I'm going to die, it's not going to work. And hustling and grinding is basically you push a little bit every day. You push it from the bottom, push from the top, try to kick a bit, you rest, you lie on it, you sit down, and you keep pushing a little bit every day. And one day you'll see it'll move a bit. And that's a very good metaphor in my head of hustle and grind. Like, you keep doing things, and a lot of the time, what the hell am I doing with my life? Nothing is happening. No one wants this. Everyone tells me this is crap. I should quit and do some normal things in life. But you keep pushing. One of the good things that happened with me was I was still going to university, so I did my undergrad, applied for medical school, got into medical school, had to keep my parents happy. I enjoy medicine as well. That's another story on why I'm doing medicine. But at the same time, I had to keep hustling and do a lot of things around my medical school to keep this thing going. Like, I would have sales meetings, and I have like my I would have my badges on me, and then like I'd run to a meeting, remove my badges, and go in. Or this one time where there was like this customer that I was almost closing, and I had a mid-semester exam, and like everybody was studying outside while I was like replying to emails on my phone, and like I went into the mid-semester, and I was like, they're like, put your phone away, and everyone's looking at their books while I was replying to business emails. So you have to do those kind of things to make this work if you're doing this part-time. But it was a great experience to do that. I'm happy to talk more about the business and details, but given the time, didn't want to go into details. But if I have to add a bit more, so I started off with that product. I built the first version, no one used it. Built a second version, no one used it. Built a third version, no one used it. And I was like, oh, you know, what's going on? Maybe like the idea's bad, or like, do I just build something else, or people don't want it? And teaches you a lot of humble lessons about human behavior. Because if you think about it, not many people look, especially in technology, not people wake up every day thinking, oh, I'm going to download this new app, I'm going to do these new things. Has to come very naturally. So that makes it very hard. But the good thing happened is that compared to my older businesses, I learned a lot of patience, and I realized there's nothing such as overnight success. And I reflected back on the stories of founders that did really awesome stuff. And you read about them, and they failed miserably over the years before one thing worked, one thing took off, and they became an overnight success. So there is nothing an overnight success unless your dad's super, super rich and, I don't know, you buy real estate or something and get a big return. But otherwise, like any company founder, you look at them, the amount of ups and downs they go through is absolutely insane. Another thing that I heard the other day was very interesting, that when you're dead, your line's like this, but when you live, your life goes like that. And that's pretty much what a startup is. I have extremely good days. Some days we get a deal and, you know, awesome things happen and everyone's like, yes, this is the best thing, and you get invited to talks and like all glitters, and the next day you constantly meet people, this is crap, what are you doing, your code broke, your design doesn't work, someone quit, someone complained, a customer calls you at 6 a.m. It goes, all right. So you have very, very, very good days and then very, very, very bad days. Back to the products that didn't work, but then I started going and talking to people. I was like, what can I do? What's going on? How do I do it? So last year we got a project from Deakin in tens and thousands of dollars, which is very exciting. And they wanted us to rebuild the product that I had built initially as a scrappy hack, but integrated with Deakin systems. And we've got 3 other paying clients now. So a lot of exciting things happening. And even on that, it's a great lesson, because when I was 18, 20, doing those first things, like in my head, I used to be like, oh, only if someone paid me $2 or something that I built. Because that's another motivation. When you start off, you think, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money, and that's going to make me happy, and that's going to keep me going. The amount of, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to use too many wrong words, but the amount of shit you get when things go wrong, money is not a good enough motivation. Like if you want just money, go get a job. You can, after 6, relax and spend that money in peace. But if you're doing a company, you don't have that kind of thing. Like at 10 p.m., you can get an email of something that didn't work out, and your heart rate is just going to bump up to 200, and no amount of money can give you that peace. So you have to find that happiness in different things. And one of the things I found was the fact that I built something, I decided this is how that color should be, that text should be, and someone used it, the dopamine that gets in your head, it's absolutely insane. Like when you walk by and someone's talking about something that you built or something that you spent 7 p.m. designing or coding, and next week you see someone actually using it, it's absolutely insane. But back to the money. When I started off, I thought, oh, someone pays me a few dollars, and my life is going to be set. I'm going to be happy and it's going to work. But obviously it doesn't work like that. The upper you go, there's more challenges. But it's interesting, the mindset shift that you have. Just wanted to give another 3 quick startup or life hacks pretty much. And one of the things I really, really believe in is side hustle. If you guys are already bored and sleepy and you take nothing from this talk, this is one thing I want you guys to take. Please have a side hustle. So my full-time thing is medical school. I do that 9 to 5, try to save lives. Mostly they make me save mannequins, but I'm getting there where I can save lives. And my startup is my side hustle. And we live in a world where this is so important. If you think about it, our parents went to universities college to get an education because the other option was to do farming. That was pretty much it. You farm, or you go get a degree, you'll get a job, life was set. I saw this really interesting graph that, as they say, baby boomers, our grandparents, life for them, everything around was pretty miserable. There was World War, like there was racism, everyone was really mean, and they were like, life is going to be really bad. So the expectation was here. But by the time they got to their 30s and 40s, industrialization happened, they got good jobs, all these mean, racist things were going down, and life was great, and they had a pretty good life. So when their kids were born or we were born, we were told, it's awesome, this world is a beautiful place. You just have to, like, you know, ask what you want, you have to grow up, you'll get a beautiful job in a skyscraper, they'll give you insurance, they'll give you like the superannuation, they'll give you retirement money, life's going to be great. So we had these expectations when we were growing up, that, you know, I'm going to grow up and live in a beautiful world where there's justice, everything's fair. But now obviously it doesn't happen. The amount of friends I have who are graduating and don't have jobs is absolutely insane. And it's tough when you finish school and you get into a university program thinking, I'm going to do this for 4 years, I'm going to do nothing else, I'm going to be a good kid, I'm not going to do anything else, I'm going to do this for 4 years, I'm going to finish, and life's going to be awesome. Doesn't happen like that. I met a kid the other day, he told me his dad has this export-import business of cars, and he really wants to do accessories, and he's studying accounting, and he's in first year. I was like, why aren't you studying now? He's like, no, I have to focus my university, do this 4 years. I'm not saying don't study, you can obviously study, but if you really reflect on the amount of time you spend watching Game of Thrones or, you know, doing things that you could maybe cut down, still watch Game of Thrones, but maybe cut down a little bit and get a side hustle. And on another note, side hustle doesn't have to be a business, it could be anything. We live in a world where you can document whatever you do and make money. Like someone was saying, Kylie Jenner, like she gets $1 million for an Instagram post. Like, she didn't even start a company. She just documented the ridiculous life they have, and look what they've done. Whatever it is, just have a side hustle. So when you go and you forget about what happened and the talk and everything, I really want you to think, what's a side hustle that you can pick up? It could be anything. You like to write, start blogging. You like to talk, start making podcasts. You like videos, do that. You like kids, like do this youth camp thing and become a champion in that space. How can you do more services and get more skills to become a youth worker? Do you like design? Pick up design stuff. You will find your niche if you play around. Just have a side hustle. And it makes it really interesting as well, because when you introduce yourself to somebody, you'll be like, this is me, I do this is my side hustle. Even like for dating, that's a great tip. People love that when you say things like that. It makes you sound interesting. Compared to saying, I'm this, I do that, full stop. It's a pretty dead story. The other thing is, life's pretty hard. Like, I have really, really tough days in whatever I do. Even med's really hard. I get, you know, kicked out. Patients are mean. Doctors are mean. Good things happen, bad things happen as well. And sometimes it really gets you down. And then when I have those days, I tell myself, oh, I've got a company, I'm making money, I have employees, I pay them. You know, it's like, oh, I try to reflect and be grateful for those kind of things. That makes me really happy. And the other way as well, when my side hustle goes wrong, we're like, oh, it's okay. If I get bankrupt, I've got a med degree as a backup. Obviously, it's not the ideal way. It's not for everybody. Some people are good at, you know, you see the Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg stories, they quit school and drop out and do that. If you can do that, that's awesome. If you have $1 billion idea and you want to do that, it's great. But otherwise, for the majority of people who have parents and need to go through the education system and do things, please have a side hustle. Connecting the dots. This is something Steve Jobs says. If you haven't heard the Stanford commencement speech by Steve Jobs, please listen to it. He talks a lot about that, and this is something I really, really believe in as well. Back in the day when I was like not sure about my idea or my idea wasn't working, there's a lot of things that I did that didn't make sense of my time. Like I was going to far off meetups or having meetings with people that didn't get any value. But I just did it because it felt like I was doing that hustle, just pushing a little bit, nothing was moving. But looking back, the amount of dots I could connect was absolutely insane. Like last week, I met a guy who I saw like 4 years ago who works at Deakin at like a top digital learning kind of space. And I went and said hi to him. I was like, I'm not sure if you remember me. He's like, yes, I do. We met 4 years ago at a hackathon. I was like, awesome, you remember. And now he's on the advisory board of our company. And it gives that credibility, right? Especially when you're young. You have no credibility. And that was one of the things that I struggled with as well. Like most of the meetings I have now is with like 50-year-olds with no hair. So it kind of gets a bit, you think of yourself like, oh, am I good enough? Am I that? And then you switch and you think, oh, what's my strengths? What can I play with? Like I had a tender meeting last year where we were given a tender out to work. And I was like, I can either be like very professional or like I remember that feeling. I had a big jacket, it was winter, I opened my jacket, I stood up and I gave this rant about how education should change and technology should change and how I'm passionate about this and how we're passionate about building beautiful products. And like, I just went on this rant, whatever came in my head, and next day I got a $5,000 tender from that. So, you're not always lucky. Sometimes they're like, what are you talking about? Sometimes that works, but if you really talk about what you know, it's great. So whatever you do, if you keep doing a little bit rather than just sitting home and watching Game of Thrones, one day you will look back and you will connect the dots no matter where or what you're doing. Do work that matters. This is something that really takes me off talking to young people. A lot of people get into entrepreneurship because they see an Instagram post where someone's taking out all the money they have in their bank account, put it in a bed, and be like, yes, that's what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Or they talk about, like, with all respect, like these multi-level marketings and do this and do that. That's one category of doing work that does not matter. The other category is of people who I see who spend 2 years on making a logo, 3 years on writing a business plan, 5 years on putting their estimated profit and loss statement. That's all awesome, but if you actually don't have a company, you don't have customers, you're not building a product or a service, you're not selling, all that does not matter. So whatever you get into, project, business, startup, do work that matters. Like always think, whatever I'm doing here, is it going to convert to a company, a business? Does this, like spending a ridiculous amount of logo, will this? You can always come back and change the logo. But if you don't have a product and service that people want, it won't matter. There's an accelerator program called Y Combinator in US, run by a guy called Paul Graham. So a lot of the Airbnb went through Y Combinator, Dropbox went through Y Combinator. So a lot of successful companies go through that. And their mantra, their motto is, make something people want. And that comes down to do work that matters. Like always do something that people actually want. It's very tempting, especially as a techie myself, it's very tempting to like just sit behind, I'm going to keep building things over things over things over things. The amount of lonely apps and websites there are on the internet is just super sad. So instead of investing so much time in building an app and website, rather if you, whatever your project is, if you go and talk to people who are actually going to use it, and you hack that by using a Facebook group or going one-to-one or calling people or messaging people or emailing people or reaching out to them, instead of having this perfect vision of having a business plan, a vision and all that kind of stuff. It's not work that matters. I'm not sure of the time, but that was pretty much me. Oh, why did that happen? No.
We have 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to take some questions if anybody had it. Otherwise, I'm happy to. Sorry, this is really icking me. I'm going to change. Yes, and yeah, before I finish, that's my email. I'd love to help with anything that I can. So feel free to reach out to me.
Any questions that you would like to ask?
Yes, some Q&As would be awesome.
Yes, here is one question.
Yes.
Do you get funding from like your own personal savings, or like you get someone to invest in your company, or?
I worked part-time at Crown for 3 years, and whatever I made, I put it back in the business.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. With funding, it's interesting. So officially now we've got some funding. So I've got some funding from Startup Week, from Spark, from customers as well. So now we've got some money. But when I started off, it was more me hacking things up. Yeah. It wasn't as much savings. I don't like the word savings because it just feels like, oh, I'm going to put in so much money. So it was never a moment like, oh, I never actually had that much money being a student. It's all like I had 50 grand and I put that into business. And it wasn't like a capital kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was more, I was working and I put in. That was one. The other thing was like absolute hustle. Like there was some like design work that I wanted to get done, and went to this lady and she's like, it's going to cost 800. And I kept emailing like 3 times every week and be like, this is going to change the world. You don't understand. You have to help me. And yeah, and she puts it up past me. Yeah. But things have become so much, like it's very cheap to do things these days.
Any
Other questions? Ask me anything. I'd love to talk about anything. Yeah. Yes, please.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the product that you've
Sure,
designed?
sure.
Deakin?
Yeah,
Does it
absolutely.
work here?
Yeah, sure. So, good question. So initially, as I said, in 2014 when I went off, I wanted to build this project management tool, and the idea was there'll be a document editor, and you'll have like task lists and folders and analytics and everything like that. No one wanted to use it, so we moved and did a native integration with Google Docs. So we've got a product now. I've got some flyers I'm happy to give away. It's called assignmenthero.com, and it's a native integration with Google Docs, and you've got tasks and Google folders and different things on place with that. And the idea is like building a collaboration tool. So if you think about how people do group projects now, you get given a PDF, and you download it, and you have your Microsoft Word and a split screen, you work on that, and you meet up and dump people work, double the work and then they match up. So we just want to digitalize that flow process, especially with Deakin Cloud and a lot of people online learning. That's very valuable. But it's been very hard. Like, I'm not sure how the idea reflects to it. It's been very hard to get that kind of adoption. So we started reaching out to universities. Like, we were telling them, look, people are using Facebook Messengers and Snapchat. You can't expect them to use ugly software for so long, and that kind of discussion boards. Yeah, but they still didn't care, so we had to find different ways to incentivize them and then also build our product. So the project that we're working on now is a feedback and collaboration tool. So basically you have to think about it as a project management tool, but your peers can give you feedback on it. Yeah, so that's the project that we're working with Deakin on, and it's to be launched at T3 this year.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Any other questions?
Does anyone want to start a company? That's cool. Why eventually?
For like a small business now, but it's just like something on the side.
Yeah. Great job. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't have to be full time. The amount of work you can do, even being part time, is absolutely insane. Yeah. Yeah. Just keep pushing. Yeah. The sooner you start, the better. It just takes time as well. But yeah, that's what I advocate. Just start now, whatever it is. Just do it now. It'll take a lot of time. Just start now.
Yes, I had a question. No.
Are you sure? Just ask one. She pointed at you. What are your thoughts? Any ideas? Any? That's okay. That's fine. That's the other thing, right? One of the things I've struggled a lot with, I've been a very anxious person all my life, and it's been very hard for me to, like there was some people that I stalked on LinkedIn or like things, and I go up and see them at the place they hang out, and like it just takes so much to go and say, hey, I have this thing, do you want to try? It's something that I've worked a lot over the years on, like just fighting that anxiousness to ask a question, to go up and say things. When you see people at university or you see people outside or at events and things, like every time I do it, I feel like all my gut is like coming out of the chest. I'm like protecting everything behind my ribs, and then I'm going and asking something. But yeah, a lot of the people are usually very nice. One of the tips that I usually have is just pick up like something instead of going and say, hey, hello, okay, I guess it's awkward. One of the things that I've always done is like, mostly I know them because I know I want to talk about them. Even if I don't, I just hear their name, I just Google them. And they always have something going on, and then I just go up. It's not always a lie, but I'm just like, oh, I read that thing that you wrote, or that blog, or that book, or that project you're working on is so awesome. Did you attend that conference? Or are you that person where I saw there? Or like your LinkedIn profile says you did that. Like you just did that, and people are like, oh, you know that? That's awesome. And they always talk to you very nicely.
That's great tip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a last question, Shahed.
Yes.
Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years' time?
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, no, very good question. So I see myself as, if I think about 7 days a week, 2 days I want to run a technology company full time, and 2 days I actually want to own a bakery. I love baking. Yeah, it's like all those different things. 1 day I want to practice as a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, so that 5 days. And yeah, weekends just do other legacy stuff. So I like talking. Obviously, I write a lot. So I write a blog to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you. Really need that.
Thank you so much, Shahed, for coming all
Thank
the way
you.
from Geelong. Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you guys. I will see you next week and all the best for your assignment. Yeah. If you have any questions, keep on asking me on Cloud Deakin, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So coming all the way, for how long did it take?
2 hour commute.
Wow.
That's okay. I usually
That's
do
good.
that, so that's fine.
So I can't thank you enough for this because I know that you